Good morning, everybody. My report this morning is all about elements and organization of visual arts. Before we proceed to our topic this morning, let us first define what is element. So, element is a part or aspect of something abstract, especially one that is essential or characteristics. So, Um, this element plays a basic part of a whole into the art because without drawing the lines, color, and texture, these which are called elements of an art wouldn't be possible. Um, we wouldn't have those wondrous uh, go sa to siya nga kuan kanang mga paints for today katong mga uh, katong mga paints katong Mona Lisa like that one. Okay, now let us proceed to our next topic, the different elements of organization in the arts. So the principles of art are an organized way that the elements of art are arranged in a work of art. The elements can be arranged in a work to produce balance, harmony, unity, rhythm, proportion, variety, emphasis, and movement. So, in the elements of art, they are following such principles. So, in their elements of art, they should follow these principles in order to arrange a work of art. So, basing upon the balance, harmony, unity, and rhythm, so on and so forth. So, next one is the organization of the various elements. This one also is the same as the elements of art. So, elements of art and organizations of art follows their own principles in working an art or into designing an art. So next one is three elements of the organization. So in the elements of organization, they have three components. These three components is our basic or the vital part in um, plays a vital part into making an art. So these are the structure, talent, and behavior. So without these three qualities, a person or a painter couldn't um, make an art. So dili siya kahimo og wonderful art or katong nindot nga art, like let's say for example Van Gogh or Mona Lisa. So let's proceed. The elements and organization of visual arts. So um, a visual element is any characteristic that we can see. So when you say visual, katong makita nato sa mata. So that includes line, shape, direction, size, texture, color, and value. So the design principles for using these elements includes balance, gradation, repetition, contrast, harmony, dominance, and the unity. So these are the principles in designing and visual arts. So mo ni siya gisubay sa painter sa paghimo og painting. Okay, so what is organization in virtual arts? So the organization of the various elements of the visual arts is governed by different principles of design. Design makes it easier for an artist to express his ideas in such a way that the observer becomes interested in his work. The design of an art object makes it possible for an observer to tell its function. So in here, in the organization of virtual arts, so let's say for example, uh, in photography, di ba? Lahi na siya photography, sculpture. So, through that visual arts, they have different ideas na ma-differentiate mo siya from each other. Uh, Also, their function as a design or as a decorations. So, next one. So, visual arts. Visual arts are creative art whose products are to be appreciated by sight. So, these are the arts that to be appreciated by the eyes. So, uh, these are the paintings, sculptures, music, literature, photography, mo na siya. So, visual arts are forms that create works that are primarily visual in nature. Visual in nature, so makita sa mata, such as ceramics, drawing, paintings, sculpture, printmaking, design, crafts, photography, video, filmmaking, and architecture. So, in visual arts, we have three types: decorative, commercial, and fine art. So, kani siya, kanang mo ni siya yung mga uh, basic functions sa visual arts. So, visual arts, mahimo siyang decorative. Pwede na to siya i-decorate. Ang visual arts, pwede na po siya i-commercial. So, pwede na to siya i-commercialize, ibaligya. And fine art, i-appreciate lang for display. So, next is 7 elements of virtual arts. So, these are the color, form, line, shape, space, texture, and value. So, these 7 elements, these are the elements that corresponds an art. So, mo ni siya nagbuo. Mo ni siya naghimo para makaproduce ta og nindot nga painting. So, next is 10 common visual arts. The visual arts are forms such as painting, drawing, printmaking, sculpture, ceramics, photography, video, filmmaking, design, crafts, and architecture. So, brag 11. So, what is the element of virtual arts? So, these are the elements. As I've said earlier, elements of visual arts are shape, line that enables us to form such a wondrous or wonderful painting. So, these elements help the artist communicate to his viewers. So, these are the elements that help us understand the piece, the art, or what was the creator wants to convey in the painting. So next is, what is the act of organizing visual arts? So design or composition is a process of the act of organizing the visual elements to effect a desired aesthetic on a work of art. When artists create compositions, they consciously draw upon design principles. So the act of organizing visual arts. So the artist, or in composing an art, so an artist based his compositions or his designs through principles. So na sa prinsipyo nga bali, for example, the painter is an abstract painter, so his paints based upon og unsay painting para sa abstract, diba? Mo siya example. Okay, next one. Genre of visual arts. These are the genre: painting, sculpture, literature, architecture, cinema, music, and theater. So, we also have the importance of visual arts. So, the visual arts provide an essential outlet for creativity and emotions. So, in visual arts, it is a way of conveying the artist ideas or emotions through the arts. So, It makes it possible for human history to be visually recorded and create a space in which ideas can be expressed in ways other than words and writing. So it's also a way of us in knowing what happened between past events or before Christ. So it's also a way of knowing our civilization, our lives, how we live in the past years. So there are three commonly used visual arts. Well, the arts as a collective can include seven forms of art. The visual arts are traditionally limited to three visual arts. So in visual arts, these are the most basic forms. So commonly used. So ang pinaka uh, permanente nga na ay magkuha nga kurso or usually nga mas daghag mo appreciate. So that these are painting, sculpture, and architecture. So let's go on. So painting defined as the process of applying paint or another medium to a solid surface, usually a canvas. Paints or other forms of color are commonly applied to using a paintbrush. However, artists do use different tools such as sponges, spray paint, or even knives. So in painting, there are kinds of, um, let's say for example, uh, painters use different kinds of techniques. Uh, brush, kanang sponge, ang uban magamit og spray, ang uban magamit og kutsilyo, or ang uban magamit og sand para maghimo siya og paint. So the application of pigments to a support surface that establishes an image, design, or decoration. In art, the term painting describes both the act, and the result. Most painting is created with pigment in liquid form and applied with a brush. Pero nowadays mas daghan ang nagamit jud og pigment or kanang singalan na ni pintal. Okay, so there are also the importance of painting. So painting, creating visually appealing artwork that others admire, gives the painter a sense of pride and happiness in the work, which helps boost self esteem and inspires people to reach new levels of skills. Painting helps build strong mental health at every age, and it is never too late to start a new hobby. So, true painting, not only for those recognized painters worldwide or internationally, but also those people who loves to paint to express themselves or to express their emotions through painting. Uh, this helps them um, kanay bitong maka this helps them to have some peace of mind and boost themselves or their self-esteem. The importance of painting in education. It also helps children with the development of motor skills, language skills, social skills, decision making, risk taking, and inventiveness. Visual arts teach learners about color, layout, perspective, and balance, all techniques that are necessary in presentation, visual, digital, or academic work. So I strongly believe in this one that painting really helps the children in developing their skills, not only on their motor skills but also in cognitive skills, because in painting, di ba, the children are encouraged um to kanang mo enter og, let's say for example, painting contest sa school, poster making contest, kana siya. The children are encouraged to make their own designs, so they are using their motor skills. Yeah, they are using their own designs, they're using their own ideas. So through that one, um makamingko sila mga other learners nga dili sila kaila. So that's also a um what we call this, a um social skills. So there are seven values in painting. So as I've said before, the line, shape, space, form, texture, color, and the value is a quality or a value of light and dark of a certain shade or tone. So these are the life life of a painting. Because without these elements or without these values, ang painting dili na siya mahimo. So without lines, shapes, ang canvas blanco lang. So wala siya, so blank lang siya. You can never appreciate an art or a painting without these elements. Types of painting. So there are five, six, seven. Oh, so there are seven types of painting. The first one is realism. Realism is a painting art style that aims to give the viewer a reflection of the real world. So in the realism, the painter subjects is painted from everyday life in a naturalistic manner. So the painter paints based upon our everyday lives. So next is photorealism. So it is an exactness of a photograph. So the painter um, uses a photograph. So he copied the uh, photograph. So ang picture, ikopya lang niya ang image dito. So that's photorealism. Next is expressionism. It refers to art in which the image of reality is distorted in order to make it expressive or of the artist's inner feelings or ideas. So, let's say for example, so when you say distorted, bali iyahang bali, no? Iyang gibali ang ideas para ang iyahang view or iyang ideas or feelings niya ang ma-express niya. So next is impressionism. So impressionism describes a style of painting developed in France during the mid to late 19th century. Characterizations of the style includes small, visible brushstrokes that offer the bare impression of form and blended color and an emphasis on the accurate depiction of natural light. So these are the paintings in which the painter so these are the paintings the painter works that reflected the world they living in or they lived in. So their painting is based upon o unsay ilahang kinabuhi karon. Okay? So next is abstract. So abstract is the art that does not attempt to represent an accurate depiction of a visual reality but instead use shapes, colors, forms, and gestural marks to achieve its effect. So in short, when you say abstract, dili masabtan. Ang nakasabot lang is the painter. So next is surrealism. The principles, ideas, or practice of producing fantastic or incongruous imagery of or effects in art, literature, film, or theater by means of unnatural or irrational juxtapositions and combinations. So in this one, the painter paints those distorted figures, dreamlike scenes, or symbolic images. For example, paintings basing on his dreams. Ano siya. So next one is pop art, an art movement that emerged in the 1950s and flourished in the 1960s in America and Britain, drawing inspiration from sources in popular and commercial culture. So in this one, the painter paints an arts basing upon the movies or based upon the various forms of advertisement. So next is oil. Oil form of a slow drying paint that consists of particles of pigment suspended in a drying oil that forms a tough colored and exposure to air. So all these are the oil painting. So next, printmaking techniques: woodcut, etching, engraving, lithography, while modern artists have expanded available techniques to include screen printing. A matrix is essentially a template and can be made of wood, metal, or glass. So there are six basic printmaking methods. So this one is first is the intaglio. Intaglio is, for example, etching, engraving, mezzotint, and dry point. So so in intaglio, an example of this one is the plate printing. Kana bang design bito sa plato. Ano siya example sa intaglio. So next one is relief. Example is woodcut, linocut, and engraving. So in relief, it is when you carve into a printing block that you then use to press onto paper and make a print. So an example of this one is katong gihimo na mo sa una when I was in elementary nga nag-cut out mi og vegetable which is okra din. Gitusyo na mo og paint dayon gi ah gitatak na mo sa band paper, so nag-form siya into a flower. Dayon katupong dahon sa saging ang form po niya into a star. So next is screen printing. So in screen printing, an example of this one is kanang t-shirt printing mo na siya. Kaya diba sa t-shirt printing iduot man siya, bali forced printing siya. Kay kailangan ka og kanang paint and kailangan nimo siya iduot para mula ka tong gusto nimo nga mo print sa mga t-shirt. So next one is liturgy. So liturgy is a process that uses flat stone or metal plate. So in this one, mo ni siya ang samples is books or posters. Mo ni siya liturgy bali anang mga books nga mga makita na tong ron nga mabasahan na to mga letters sa books na to. Mo na siya example sa liturgy printing. So next one, monoprint is a form of printing where the image can only be made once. So example of this one is the baby footprints. So next one is digital printing. So kabalo naman mo sa ning digital printing. An example of this one is our photos of today. So there are 5 elements of the perfect print job: color consistency, paper type, layout, printing partner. Also materials used in printmaking: plexiglass, adhesive, thin cardboard or chipboard, stiff cardboard, corrugated cardboard, yarn, fabric scraps, foam pieces, bubble wrap. Next is sculpture. Comes from the Latin word sculpture, that is to carve. So an artistic form in which hard or plastic materials are worked into three-dimensional art objects. The designs may be embodied in freestanding objects, in relief, on surfaces, or in environments, ranging from tableau to contexts that envelope the spectator. For example, sculpture. Kanang si Rizal, sculpture man na, di ba? Ano siya example sa freestanding objects or standing sculpture. So, a form of artistic expression that involves modeling, sculpting, or carving stone, wood, or other materials. Sculpture is considered one of the 7 arts alongside music, painting, and dance, and sculptors can use it to express themselves through the use of volume and space. So what is sculpture and why it is important? Sculpture is more than mere decorative art. As an art genre, it finds diverse use in the expression of politics, culture, history, religion, rituals, and commemorative tributes. So, as we can see in sculpture, um, it expresses when it comes to politics. So when you say politics, di ba, na may sculpture si Rizal. So in religion, see the cross and the sculpture of Lord Jesus Christ. In history, we have Mactan or Magellan. So let's proceed. So there are several vital elements define sculpture and other 3D artworks. As I've said before, these are the elements: the volume, shape, color, rhythm, texture, and proportion. So sculptures fall into four basic categories: molded, cast, carved, or assembled. So these are the basic categories of sculpture. So when you say molded, kato siyang gi-mold. So when you say cast, kato siyang mura siya ugi kuan ba giputos. So carve katong sa kahoy nga gidukdok. And assembled katong sa metal. So the media and artists used for molded sculptures include clay, wax, paper mache, and plaster. Cast sculptures involve modeling the sculpture, then making a mold and casting it in a metal or other medium. So we have another one, which is the architecture, the art and science of designing structures and spaces for human use. So human use bali ang ato ning mga balay, buildings. So architecture exists to create a physical environment in which people live, but architecture is more than just the built environment. It's also a part of our culture. It stands as a representation to how we see ourselves as well as how we see the world. So architecture came from the Latin word architectura, or from the Greek word architecton, archi meaning chief and tecton meaning builder. So architecture is one of the oldest and most prestigious profession in the world. Architecture is an art form through which people create the design of buildings. It is an art form that has been used to shape and define civilizations throughout history. So through architecture, we would see or we would know our culture basing upon the shapes and our civilization from past history. So there are characteristics of good architecture. So durability, utility, and beauty. So when you say durability, ang iyang kalig-on sa balay. If could stand up through flood, earthquake, when it is in a good condition. So utility, it should be useful and function well for the people using it. So na siya function. So for example, sa balay, function niya puyan. So next one is beauty. So dapat within the architecture, ang balay naa siya durability, utility, and beauty. So dapat present ni siyang tulo sa architecture. So beauty, it should be delight people and raise their spirits. So next is, what are the 7 different types of architecture? So these are residential architecture. So when you say residential, katong atong puyanan. Next is commercial architecture. Commercial is malls. Landscape architecture. So landscape kanang atong malaagan. For example, plaza. Interior design architecture. Urban design architecture. Urban is katong mga karaan. Green design architecture, industrial architecture, factories na siya. So 3 uses for architectural design: breathe new life into a legacy platform, gain operational control of your platform, leverage the value of third-party services. So mo ni siya uses sa architecture design. Dapat present ni siya. So that's all of my report this morning.